It's Mejia May.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Danny Mejia, aka Mejia Made. Today, I'm gonna be breaking down a West Coast type sample in the style of Big Sad and Larry June. So let's get right into it. Alright, y'all, so let's go ahead and get started with this breakdown. So the first sound that I started with that really inspired this whole sample is these keys that I found from Splice. So I'm gonna go ahead and play it for y'all. This is what the original sound sounded like. So it's literally just like a hit, but the way I manipulated it, as far as playing around with it in the piano roll, I just gave it that extra chord change. The original piano sounded good. I didn't end up adding any effects to it besides cutting off some of that low end. So one of the things I did to this sound is mess around with the attack. So originally, this is what it sounded like. I ended up putting the attack to 12% because I wanted to sound more like a pad instead of a piano. So that's just a little key for y'all. So with the attack at 12%, this is what it ended up sounding like. One of the next things I added is this sound, which I'm just going to call the ambulance sound because that's what it reminds me of. And this is what it sounds like. I won't be able to open up the VST I used for this sound just because I ended up rendering it out. So I'm not sure exactly what preset or plugin I used, but I'm 90% sure I used the VST Access to get this sound. For this sound, the only thing I ended up doing to it is deducting some of that low end over at 125 Hertz. One of the next things I added, which I think is the main glue for the sample and gives it that extra bounce, is this bass line that I came up with, which sounds like this. So for the bounce for this bass line, I actually played it on my Arturia Minilab MK2. I wanted to give it that bounce, which you can achieve it on a piano roll, but personally, I prefer to actually play it out on a piano, which is what I did for this sound. The VST I use for this bass line is my favorite plugin of all time, hands down. Diva. The preset is HS Flat Bass, and I only tweaked a couple of the parameters to get this sound. As far as the effects go for this bass line, I ended up using this R-Bass by Waves. I put the frequency at 40 to boost some of that low end, and I ended up raising the intensity to negative 13.5, which before and after the R-Bass sounds like this. And then after. So it's subtle, but you can definitely hear a difference. The next plugin I use for the bass is this G Master Bus Compressor by Waves again, and I use this plugin to glue everything together for the bass line. Because I didn't want to mess with the transients of the bass line, I put the attack all the way to 30 milliseconds, and I put the fastest release setting, which is 0.1. Without both of the plugins, this is what the bass line sounds like. And then with the plugins. The next sounds I added were these pad-like sounds just to give it extra ambience. This is what they sound like. So again, unfortunately guys, I wasn't able to find the VST for all except one of those pad sounds, which came from the high VST. I used the BL Medicine Man preset, and then the pad by itself, it sounds like this. So for the pads, I didn't end up adding any effects, but what I did do to them is pan them left and right 50%, and then I used the exact same settings for both of the pads. I took off some of that low end at 297 Hertz and dropped some of that high end over at 8K. And then for this next sound, it's a little bit tucked in the back, but personally, I think it adds a lot of ambience. It's these vocals that I used from Arcade, and I just ended up chopping them up. This is what they sound like. For these vocals, I used the Distant Voices kit and the Native Land pack from Arcade. Before I ended up messing with the vocals, this is what it originally sounded like. So what I did is loop that first half and then pitch it down 12 semitones. Another little vocal sample I ended up throwing in there, which I think just really ties it all in together, is this sound, which I'm pretty sure I used from Arcade, but I'm not sure exactly from what kit or what pack. And then finally, to make the sample just really stand out, give it extra ambience, and also give it something memorable and make it more melodic, I threw in these pianos. These pianos I got from Kontakt from the Maverick library using the basic Maverick preset. And the only thing I adjusted for this preset is lower down the tone to get a little bit more of that softer color. The first plugin I use for the piano is ROM by Kontakt, and these are the settings for it. I have the pre-delay over at 0. I did a low cut to -14 dB and then a high cut at 9.97 kilohertz. I put up the decay over to 5.9 seconds just to make that tail really last and give it that spaciousness and also that ambience that I had talked about earlier. The reverb is over at 100%, and then I left these settings alone. The next plugin I added is again the G Master Bus Compressor by Waves, and these are the settings for it. The last thing I did is deduct some of that low end over at 120 Hertz. So altogether, this is what the sample sounds like. And that's how you guys can make a big, sad Larry June type of sample. Let me know in the comments what y'all think. If y'all gained any type of insight from this video, please leave a comment. Please subscribe. I put out videos once every week where I do 2 beat breakdowns, a sample flip challenge, and I break down a sample just how I did today. So catch me next week where I'll be breaking down another one of my beats. Peace.